2 is titled, How Can I Rewrite It? This is actually day 2. We're going to be on pages 5 through 7. We're going to be investigating some more of the properties of logarithms. And so by the end of the lesson, you'll be able to use the basic laws of exponents to explore the properties of logarithms. And it's been a long break, so if you forgot the one we did before, after the lesson, you can go back and look at what we did on day 1. So the first property we're going to talk about today is called the product property. And I'm going to do the first one with you, and then when we're done, you're going to go back and fill in the rest in your groups of 4. It says, the following equations are true statements. And you are going to use your calculator to confirm that they are true. Okay, so you're going to notice that the log of 24 is equal to the log of 2 plus the log of 12. You'll also notice that the log of 24 is equal to the log of 3 plus the log of 8. Okay, so you're going to notice a pattern with all of these, and that's going to be what you're going to write for problem number 2. It says, look for a pattern with the numbers in each of the above examples. Write what you notice. So you're going to start with I notice, and then you're going to see something that's happening. Okay? But I'm going to show you how to do this on your calculator. So basically, if you take the log of 2, so you're going to hit the log button, type in the log of 2, it's going to give you this decimal. I just wrote down to 3 decimal places. So I wrote 0.301. And then I typed in the log of 12 and wrote down to 3 decimal places again, 1.079. If you add those 2 decimals together, you're going to get 1.380, which should be what you get when you go to find the log of 24. So the log of 24 is 1.380. So it checks out. Okay? When you do that with the log of 3, you're going to write down the decimal, plus the log of 8, you're going to write down the decimal, add the 2 together, you should get the same answer. Okay? You should still get 1.380 when you do that. Okay? Does anybody think they see the pattern here? Leah? Yes. Okay, so when it says, for problem number 2, I notice, you're going to say, I notice that whatever number is over here, the 2 numbers over here will multiply to get that number. So however you want to word that in your own words, okay? On the left is what we call the condensed version, and on the right is what we call the expanded version. Basically, they're going to give you one, they want you to get the other, okay? So for problem number 3, it says, use the patterns from number 2 to fill in the blanks. So if we have the log of 28, we're going to say that's equal to the log of 7 plus the log of what? Well, 7 times 4 is 28, so we fill in the 4. And for part B, the log of what is going to be equal to the log of 10 plus the log of 4, so 4 times 10, we fill in the 40. Okay? So you're either going to go from condensed to expanded, or you're going to go from expanded to condensed. Okay? The main thing you also need to look for is that you would have to have the same base. So in part 4, it's writing your property in algebraic form. Okay? So instead of using numbers, they're saying that log base b, notice this is also log base b, and this is also log base b. You have to have the same base, or it's not possible. Okay? If you run into a problem and it has log base 7 on one and log base 3 on another, you just say it's not possible. Okay? They have to have that same base or it's not going to work. So the log base b of m plus the log base b of n is just the log base b of m times n. And if there were numbers there, you would multiply them, or if you're going the other direction, you would divide them. Sorry. You would multiply them. So you would, yes, divide. Okay. Anybody still writing? Okay. Flip over to page 6. All right. So since we had the product property, now we're going to have the quotient property. So we're going to do basically the same thing here. I'm going to do the first one with you. Then when you get in your groups of 4, you'll figure out all the decimals and make sure it's true. It says the following equations are a true statement. Use your calculator to confirm. So for example, number 1, we have the log of 8 is equal to the log of 32 minus the log of 4. You'll notice that the log of 8 is also equal to the log of 64 minus the log of 8. So let's get these as decimals. The log of 32 is, type it in your calculator, then you're going to write down 1.505. There's a glare. And then you're going to subtract the log of 4, which is 0.602. Then you type this minus this, and you're going to want to write it down and make sure that you get the same thing for the log of 8 to 3 decimal places, 0.903. When you do the log of 64 minus the log of 8, you should also get 0.903, right? Just like we did with the product property, same thing's going to happen with the quotient property. And then it just follows the same pattern here. So for question number 2, it says, look for a pattern with the numbers in each of the above examples. Write what you notice below. So you're going to start by writing, I notice. Who thinks they noticed the pattern on this side? Sam.
The 2 logs on the right divide to make the log on the left.
Yes. Okay. For instance, 32 divided by 4 is 8, and 64 divided by 8 is also 8. Okay, so you're going to say something about division over here. One thing I do want to point out with division and subtraction is that order matters, right? 32 divided by 4 is 8, but 4 divided by 32 is not 8. It's a fraction, right? Okay, so make sure that the order is important when you're doing the quotient property versus the product property. 3 times 4 is the same as 4 times 3, right? So order isn't as important. We generally keep it in the same order, but it's a little more flexible, okay? All right, so question number 3 says, use the pattern from number 2 to fill in the blank for each equation below. So for part A, the log of 2 is equal to the log of 18 minus the log of what? 18 divided by what is equal to 2, so we fill in the 9. And again, we have, for this problem, the condensed on the left and the expanded on the right. And then for part B, we want to look at the expanded part on the right to get the condensed version on the left. So we should have the log of what is equal to the log of 60 minus the log of 5. So we're going to take 60 and divide it by 5. Order matters. So 60 divided by 5 is 12. So we fill in the 12 there. Okay? Any questions on that part? Okay? And again, here's what it looks like algebraically for the quotient property. So expanded on the left here. Notice all of the bases are the same. Algebraically, they all have a b. Okay. So the log of b The log base b of m minus log base b of n is equal to log base b of m divided by n. Okay? If you accidentally on this one wrote n divided by m, it would be incorrect. Okay? Whatever comes first would have to go in the numerator, and whatever comes second would have to be in the denominator. Okay? Any questions on that? All right. Flip over to page 7. Top of page 7. Problem number 20 is your practice. So in your groups of 4, you're going to use your properties of logarithms to rewrite each of the following expressions as a single logarithm. So we've got them expanded over here. They want you to condense it down to one single logarithm. If they all have the same basis, you're good to go. If they don't all have the same basis, you're just going to say no solution or not solvable or can't do it, whatever word you can think of. Okay? There's also a property that we learned on day 1 that is in some of these. So you might want to look back to day 1 before you get going into them too much. It has something to do with exponents. Okay? So you'll look back at that. You'll finish up some of those. And then down at the bottom, I just want you guys to fill in the properties. So if you need to look at them for quick reference, on the left I have them algebraically. On the right, I plugged in some numbers so you can see how they work with some numbers. And then you're going to want to make sure you have all of your bases must be the same.